Oh, where's the agenda? Oh, gosh, where's the Zoom thing?
Yeah.
You want an agenda?
Okay,
I have one on my computer.
they're all on. Okay, Nancy, sorry to keep you waiting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Okay,
It's like program. Yeah.
hi, Ed. All right, thank you for that. We're now going to go ahead and proceed with the meeting and try to get through everything we've got to do tonight, which is pretty focused. First of all, may I have a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting,
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the October 15th. minutes.
October 15th? Thank you. Is there a second? Is there a second? Kevin?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, will you second? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The minutes motion has passed. Minutes are approved for October 15th. I'm going to walk through a town supervisor report. But the main thing, there's a few things to go over tonight. We have a couple of priorities and some very quick things. But I'd like to focus, since tonight's meeting is really supposed to be the night we approve the budget, which we will do. I would just want to point out from a cash flow perspective, we brought in $123,000, $123,846 in revenue, which was consistent with what we had done last year. But we're at 91% of the revenue that we normally have, which seems rather high, but remember, we get that infusion of the tax levy money at the beginning. So it's just the excess above that we're short. We're also 84% of the expenses budgeted, so we've saved money there, which is terrific. I'd also like to point out that George Kolb, who's had a very busy year because of everything going on, he's at 106% of the budget goal that we put in place last year. So he's already outpaced that because of what's been going on. I'd also like to mention that the town board members have been given the warrants, a copy of the warrants, the cash journal, the escrow reports, all the deposits, and the monthly performance versus budget reports. So they have all of that in their mailboxes. I wanted to mention that we have some changes to the budget that we tweaked as a result of the since the last budget, when we approved the preliminary budget, I mentioned that we might have a couple of things come in that we'd have to tweak. So basically what happened was, these are the changes that occurred. We had an additional person join the medical insurance, which is going to they won't start until 2021, but it'll drive up those costs. So that money that we had, we had a 0% increase on our budget. So we had to go out and find where we were going to offset that. And basically, Ed Kading and I, highway superintendent and I, we were reviewing his section of the budget and moved some things around we added some money to tree removal and eliminated the seasonal laborer, because all of his seasonal labor is pretty much captured in the snow removal line, as you guys remember. So that extra person is offset there, those extra costs in medical. In addition, NYMER, the quote for NYMER came in at 59,916, and we had budgeted 65. And the reason it's at 59,916 is because we didn't have Oktoberfest and some of the other events that they really charge us for. And so we got a credit. Yeah. So they cover all of that liability. So as a result of that, so that went down. And in addition, we're getting a check from NYMER for $6,666 in the first quarter this year and next year. And it's basically with NYMER, when they first started up, it's a capitalization refund. When they first started up, it's for members only. It's for a group of municipalities and
Like
counties.
profit sharing.
Yeah, so they got everybody every year. Part of your premium was this membership fee.
Right.
And now they've got so many people in it, the membership fees they're capped, and they're returning the excess in the form of a capitalization refund. So we're going to get 12, 13 grand between this year and next year. So that was a nice profit. So we had a few extra dollars as a result of that being factored in, and I put $4,384 that was left over. I just put it in the legal, and that brings us to the same dollar amount. We've got lots of lines under legal. We have a very tight legal budget, but it brings us to the same amount of the same amount that we spent on that Article 78 last year in that line, should we need to use it. So if we don't use it, it just rolls over. Okay, so those were the changes. We still have $49,460 left in the contingent fund. And the reason that that's important is because the Department of Labor is slow. They haven't charged us yet they haven't sent us the bill. They sent us a letter saying that they would be charging us. Remember I mentioned at one of our meetings, we're going to have 18,000 some odd dollars in the form of unemployment costs. So we've got that much in claims, and that money will come out of, basically that'll come out of we got more than enough to pay for it. So even though we only put $2,000 in the budget for, for unemployed costs,
Yes.
because municipalities don't have to do that, we only put the $2,000 in, the contingent fund will cover it for us. So that will be good. We'll just wait for it, and it'll come. It comes late, but it'll come. So those are changes that occurred. We'll talk about the budget let's talk about the budget now. Again, just to remind anybody that may be listening, when this is adopted, we'll send it out on Unionville Mail tomorrow. It'll be on the website, and everybody will have a copy of it. But we had a tough year, but we're going to be fine. I mean, we did not raise taxes. Everything's at 0%, which is good for our residents. The one thing, though, I would mention is that we're a little bit conservative in our revenue assumptions for recreation this year, which I think it's smart to be conservative. But when you look through the budget and you see that because we had to have additional labor costs with the after-school program to run that every day feasibly between now and the end of the school year, our labor costs go way up on that. And so for the first time since I've been here, we will have our recreation costs could be a little higher than our revenue, which we straightened that out 3 years ago. And now we've been running it, where it was the other way around. But this year, because of that, it may change. So I'm hopeful that those revenues will come in and things will be changed. But we had to be conservative based on what happened this year. But other than that, the only things I would like to point out, because we've told everybody that we're going to raise the same amount as far as the tax levy that we raised last year. We do not have the projected capital spending projects that we haven't put in a budget are Furnace Pond Dam repairs, which we're going to talk about tonight. We've only put $15,000 in the highway capital reserve. We were hoping to be able to put about 50 a year, but I think we're hanging in there, and 15 is a good start for this coming year. So that money will go in. We have a Time Warner Park roof appropriation. When we fixed all the holes in it last year, the gentleman who fixed it said, okay, I'm going to give you 3 to 5 years, but that'll be a $250 minimum. I guess with prevailing wage, it would be $350 of roof costs. So we wanted to have an appropriation of $50,000 a year to put that aside. We haven't done that in this budget. And I think those were the biggies. We've got a vehicle coming, and we're going to talk about a capital reserve fund later. But just keep in mind that those things aren't funded. We do have a fund balance of $2.93 million. And so the board will have to take, what we'll end up doing is voting on utilizing unfunded, unallocated fund balance for specific projects that we embark on. Okay. But other than that, I think the budget looks as tight as it's going to be. We were conservative in revenue. And we're hoping for the best. And I think that we're going to end up with an okay year. Okay. So that would really be all I have to say about changes in the budget. I think that the residents should be pleased because we have good managers that are very much watch our expenses. And from that perspective, I think that the budget is a solid one. So we will talk about and vote on the budget later in the agenda, as you can see back down under the resolutions and motions. I also wanted to talk about our audit. Ted Eglett emailed me today. So basically, we have a very clean audit. The copies are coming next week. I guess, Ted, I'd mentioned to you that our CPA had a meltdown on his computer in September. And then he had a lot of clients that had to have their audits returned by November 15th. And so we're a little easier than they are. So he said, I put you right behind them. And so here it is. So it's ready. It looks clean. I just read the management letters and all that. There's nothing in there. But he's delivering a bunch of copies here next week. He wanted Danielle and I to look at it, and we want to get a copy of the assets and all the things that support it. So we'll review that, and then he'll bring over copies for the board next week. Okay? So the audit looks good. We've been waiting a long time.
Yeah.
It was a weird year. He said all of his clients kept him waiting. I mean, it was a tough year, and usually we get this done sooner. So, so what else are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about the library update. So this is interesting. So we have we had a little bit of a delay with the library, the setting up the services on the website because well, first Nancy, Kathy Wellman, sorry, had a knee replacement, and then she had a complication that set her back, I don't know, 4 to 6 weeks. It's been really tough on her, but she's back, so that's good. In addition, we've been working on the website so that we can get everything up and running, and we've been making changes as we go. And we have a town resident who is a volunteer to help us with library services, who wants to work and wants to be involved as the library project grows going forward, which is wonderful because she's volunteered at 3 or 4 other libraries, and she's got a IT background, and she's a lovely woman, and she's a resident, and so it's great. So she's going to be working with us. And one of the things we've done is we've made changes to the website, and I like to say, we had a nice chat about this today. I feel like this library services that we're offering is not quite, we're almost there because we've got all these, a couple of pages that slide in accidentally that are incorrect. But it's like those, I was telling them today, 4 years ago, the hottest thing in Manhattan was those concierge medical services. You could pay an annual fee and you could see the doctor whenever you wanted. You didn't have to. So I feel like this is a concierge, this is concierge library services, because basically what's happening with this is that we're going to be putting systems, we're going to be putting, well, we have ebooks, we have audiobooks, we have DVDs, we have all that stuff. The highlights with all the activities for the kids are accessible on a website. And in some cases, we don't have 10 years or 20 years of inventory with books and things like that. So what we're saying to our residents is, come here and look, and then tell us what you want, and we'll get it for you. That way, we're not buying a lot of things that people don't want. And so we're bringing in what people want. So they'll go in and look, they'll talk to the library services coordinator, and whoever's working that day, it'll be Kathy or Joanne or, whoever it's going to be. And then they will respond and bring in what the residents want. So, and we went through everything today. It's just a really interesting opportunity. There are book clubs. There's a lot of things that I think will bring, Joanne is convinced this is going to be a real, it's going to give people a real sense of fraternity after a while, that there's going to be some real positive community aspects to this. So one of the things that we're working on and helping Joanne start is there's going to be a group of early adapters. So we have to walk people through the site, make sure they understand it. So Joanne's going to coordinate a group of early adapters. And we're going to have a Zoom call just with those 5 or 6 people. She wants a small group with those 5 or 6 people. And then we're going to walk all of those early adapters through it and then get feedback from them and then show them how to use it. And they're going to all, be people from our list. We got some emails, all the town board members got some emails from people that were frantic or worried. And we want to reach out to all of those people and put them in touch with the services that they can use. So that's going to be happening the week after Thanksgiving with Joanne's control group, or her early adapters rather. And so we'll keep you posted. We've got a couple other things to fix on the site. The ordering is probably easier for a library services coordinator than the residents until they understand it, but there's a ton of stuff on there. She was very excited, so I think it's going to work out really well for everybody. Now, I think those are the only things I was going to talk about tonight. Since Ted came in today, the audit is managed to be on the list. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to board member reports. Anybody want to start first?
I would,
Councilman Welsh?
yeah. I was just gonna use the space bar, is that all right? Yeah. Okay, I would like to just comment.
Hold it
that-
down. Can't hear you.
I have been.
Okay,
Um,
Andrea,
I'll unmute then. This Furnace Pond Dam is becoming a focal point. I know we're going to talk about it later, but I've been going through all my extensive records and information I had. And of course, we had that meeting this Tuesday with the engineer. So I was trying to get up to speed on that, and I'm glad we're going to talk about it later.
good. It's going to, between the annexation and Furnace Pond Dam and adopting the budget, those are our topics for the night. So thank you, John. Councilman Derlin, did you have anything you wanted to report? Okay. Councilman Frazier?
Nothing.
Okay. Councilman McGivney?
Nothing at this time.
Great. Oh, it worked. Thank you, Councilman. That's good. Councilman McGivney is at home just because he's being COVID sensitive, which is great. Thank you. All right. At this point, we can turn it over then to our town highway superintendent, and you can give us some updates, sir. Can you hear? I just want to make sure you can be heard. I have had some complaints from residents that say they can never hear you. So maybe you come and sit here, and they'd love to hear you, but they can't. Yeah, they love the roads, but the hearing is bad. So once you come sit here, and I think that my mic is on. There you go. Okay.
Thank you. Can you hear me? All right, just a few things that we've done in the past month. Thankfully, the salt shed roof is complete with new trim. I think fella did a great job. Pretty pleased with it. My crew has been out. They've been fixing potholes, sunken culvert pipes, and trying to make the roads a little nicer to travel on. I don't know if you've noticed, but we've been out for the past week and a half or so, blowing the debris out of the drainage ditches as much as possible. Hopefully we're not getting anybody's lawns. We've been out boom mowing the brush back on some of the roads that have got a little bit overgrown. We're replacing some of the plywood on the salt shed that over the years has been in need of replacing. So that's on our agenda. We're doing that. We're getting our trucks ready for the winter. Hopefully we won't have to pull them out of the shop, but they will be ready when we need them. We did sell one of the old pickup trucks, had 200 and I believe 40,000 miles on it, and it would not pass inspection. That was the reason for the sale. I believe we got $2,700 for that truck,
Wow,
which
very
is
nice. Impressive.
for a 20-year-old truck. I thought that was
With
pretty
that kind
good.
of mileage, yeah.
And a pickup truck. So I am working right now with Schmeling Glass on getting a quote to replace some of the glass in the shop building that is broken, just the panes. I guess it's each pane has got to be individually cut because of the age of the frames. So they're going to come out on site after we get their number and see about getting that glass replaced. It's been cracked for too many years. The other thing we're doing in the shop is we're bringing in some rigid foam insulation, putting it on the upper 30% of the steel casement windows to try to save some of the heat that's in the building. I guess lastly, and probably for me, one of the most exciting things is we have a new hire going to start on December 1st or thereabouts. He's a very qualified man. He is going to act as our mechanic, if you will, and also he will help with the equipment operation. He is a CDL driver and very experienced, so I'm pretty excited about
Excellent,
that.
that's great.
So that's all I got. So any questions?
No, that's great.
Okay.
But I want to make a public thank you for cleaning up the mess on Shaughnessy Road. Thank you very much.
Another thing that we've been getting a lot more debris on the roads.
Good,
Yeah, they look good, thank you.
wonderful, thank you. Okay. All right. Oh, we have departmental reports. Oh, am I off? No. Did I skip you? I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Town clerk report, please. Thank you.
Sorry, my report is quick tonight. On December 11th, the town is holding our annual shredding day. So residents and also participants of the recycling center are welcome to come and bring a few boxes. We said about 4 file size boxes. In years past, everyone has always been able to shred their entire contents. You might just have to wait in line for a little bit, but they will be here for an hour. I don't know the exact time yet. The company drives around to different sites. So Legal Shred is going to call me the day of and let me know. Options for you, I can put you on a call list if you want to be called when I know a better time, or you can drop your stuff off with me the day before. That's also permitted. And I will see that it will get shredded, but right now it is scheduled for Friday, December 11th. There is a notice on the website if you forget, and you can check there or call me if you have any questions.
Great. I bet there's going to be a lot because everybody's been at home for a while.
Yeah, a lot of clean out happening.
A
So
lot of clean out. Thank you very much for organizing that. That's terrific. Okay, at this point, we have departmental reports. Councilman Frazier, do you want to read the Parks report? Do you have it there? Thank
Park Report 11/19/20. We have been doing lots of fall cleanups and mowing around both Timor Park and Godfrey Park. Still some more leaves to come down, but we're almost there. We also did end of season cleanup at the memorial on the green. Shane has been prepping all the trucks for winter by doing some routine maintenance. He also moved the plows out from the long barn to the pole barn so they're easily accessible when needed, and prepped the sanders so that we're set for winter season. All the outside bathrooms in Timor Park have been winterized and are now closed for winter season, as well as the water system at the equestrian center. We're now gearing up for the grand illumination Christmas lights in Timor Park. The lights will come on nightly starting the evening of December 5th. Installed the final set of double doors that we had in number 8 Timor Road. These are located in the far end of the building facing the concession stand. The new doors came out very nice and really make the end room seem much more open and brighter. We've been doing a lot of work in number 11 Timor Road, Timor Park Road. Somebody turn the mic on or something? Let's get the mic on there. There we go. Things are progressing well and everything is on schedule and it's starting to look very good. I also wanted to make sure that I took the time to acknowledge our after-school program team. They work extremely hard every day, and I think they're doing a great job. And we have multiple parents let us know how much they appreciate the effort and that they have been putting in and the work that they're doing.
This was an email that came in from a parent today to Councilman Frazier's last bullet point on the Parks report. A mother wrote, "Hello, I feel compelled to send you a message and to say thank you. During these unprecedented times, the camp program has saved my ability to work and above all my sanity. I wanted to especially call out Allison Croak, our director of the program, and Maggie, who are doing an amazing job. I'm sure there are others I'm missing. I've interacted with our school teachers who have said that both of my kids are engaged and supported while at Timor. I can't thank you enough for providing this program for the children of Unionvale and specifically for her two kids, Warmly and Mom. So I won't use their names, but we have been getting an awful lot of thank yous from parents who are just so appreciative to have consistency with this program, so that they could work. So that was a nice email. I just got it an hour ago. Thought everybody would enjoy hearing it. Councilman Welch, do you mind giving the recreation report?
Yeah, that's a good prelude to the recreation report submitted by Allison Croak, our director. Title is Thank Goodness There's Timor Program and November Movie Night Updates. Both our TT full day and after school programs are continuing to operate smoothly. We had several new families sign up this month, and we're happy to take advantage of the warmer weather earlier this month with lots of outdoor activities for the kids. We are still taking registration for both full day and after school programs. Please note there are weekly snapshots posted on Facebook and Instagram for those who want to get a peek at the program. Despite having to cancel our Halloween movie night due to weather, we had a good turnout for our November movie night. Approximately 50 people attended. Families enjoyed watching The Nightmare Before Christmas in the park and delicious food from Las Three Americas food truck and Caboose on the Loose ice cream truck. We received positive feedback from attendees who were grateful for a family event.
Yeah, they are. Thank you. Okay, at this point, we have old business. We're going to talk about the solar development on Route 55. It's under construction. They got their permits. They've got the fencing up. They haven't painted it black yet. Not the last time I walked around.
Too cold for that now.
Yeah, so we'll eventually have a black painted fence that will blend in. They were planting shrubs, so things are moving. I think the interesting thing is the residents who wanted to participate in the program should be being contacted by Common Energy, which is the company who is going to be the interface between, to do the tracking so that people get their 10% discount. And I'm just a little concerned because I think I'm pretty sure I put my husband and our name on that list and nobody's called us. You haven't been contacted yet. Some people have. I know I've gotten a few emails from residents and some haven't. If you have not, we can also start taking names again and send them over to them. I know they're reaching out to some people, but it's important that if people are interested in that 10% discount, that they reach out to it. Actually, they have a site, Common Energy, and you can say, Town of Unionvale with Common Energy and Google it, and you'll go to their site. So it is there, and you can sign up again to be called, which maybe I guess I'll do that instead of waiting for them. But anyway, Common Energy, go on that site and try to get it. I'll get that. Actually, I'm going to put that address in the Unionvale mail. Okay, good. All right. Is it the new one? The new address? I think it's the new Common Energy is the new. So we'll make sure everybody has that updated. I'll get it to you too, Andrea, so you can post it there. Updated address, but people should reach out again, even if you were on the old email list. It might not have transferred perfectly, but they are now able to reach out. So that is underway and that should be finished. I don't know, it's going to be 60 degrees on Saturday. Maybe we'll have a few more warm days, right? And they can finish it by February.
I hope so.
Yeah, I'm really hopeful too. Okay, in old business, section 11.2, we have annexation of Timor Park parcels in the town of Beekman. We had a attorney-client meeting with our attorney prior to this to discuss the public hearing and the organization of it. But I will say I want to make it clear to everybody that there was a post in a Beekman Facebook page that somebody sent me. And the wording in the Beekman Facebook page didn't even mention the fact, it did not mention the fact that we actually owned the land. So we own those 5 parcels that are part of Unionvale, part of Timor, part of Beekman, but are part of Timor Park. And I think when they posted it, it said Unionvale's trying to annex these parcels from Beekman out of Beekman. And it doesn't sound like they're telling people that we actually own that land. So we don't,
the full story.
yeah, we want to, if you read it, they fail to mention that they're trying to annex lands that they own. So just so that everybody's clear, the public hearing is for Unionville residents, and it's public hearing, so certainly Beekman and their town board will be there as well. They're obviously invited, but it's a chance for residents to come out and talk about why it would be wonderful to get all of Time Warner Park together. So please go to the website and look at the resolution, and we encourage you to come, and there'll be a Zoom invite. You don't have to walk on it if it's a cold night. But you can be on Zoom, and you will submit your name to speak. And then we'll probably do a quick review at the end to make sure we've gotten everybody that wanted to speak. But is this in the best interest of the town of Unionville and our residents to pull our whole park together? I mean, I think unanimously the board has said we think it completely is. I think a lot of our residents are they think they've been telling me it's a no-brainer. So if that's the case, feel free to come and speak and support the effort. Anybody else want to say anything about annexation, or you want to wait till Monday?
I'm gonna wait till Monday.
You wait till Monday? Okay, Mr. Derland? Monday, good, okay. New business? Everybody can chip in on this one. So we have been waiting, this new business section is about the Furnace Pond Dam. And we have been waiting for an engineering analysis to be completed, and the engineers called me this week and said, we finished all of our testing. We're still writing the document. We're going to get that document in about 2 weeks. So I had, John, you were free. You came over to listen to, I asked him, we would have some people come over. So you happen to be free. You came over. I had George Kolb there. I had Mr. Ed Kading there, and Jake Gosnell, our park manager, there. So we all listened to the engineers and kind of give us an overview that they're going to do at a town board meeting in December, either at a work session on December 3rd, or they'll come for the later one. I think the earlier one would be better if their document is finished. So the town board will be getting a copy of this engineering analysis soon. You can read in detail everything they discussed about testing. Basically, it sounds as if, we haven't read the document, it hasn't been completed. It sounds as if between the hydraulics and the stability and the testing that still has to be done, the design phase, the permitting, how they're going to buttress up if it's necessary, or make stable the dam itself so it'll last another 100 years. It looked as if the total that they were estimating was about $770,000. Now, that was me saying to them, how much is that dam going to, how much do you think it'll be? And they're still writing their report, so we'll get more details when all the board.
That was the highest number. They had a range.
At a range,
That was the full.
I went to the top of the
Full amount,
range when
yeah.
I added them up. Like if they said it was 20 to 30, I added a 30.
Which is the way to do it.
Yeah. So I think that what we are all going to come to when the board gets this report and the board reads it and digests the report, we'll be talking to the town residents about next steps, because they do have to do one more test to tell us if they need to, if they're going to recommend to us that they stabilize it with metal beams or metal rods, or if they have to buttress it with something. So that test is yet to be done. And when they do that final test, which is good, they're asking that one hasn't been paid for yet. We have to pay for that one. Then they will know which way to go as far as maintaining this dam for another 100 years. So after that, I think what the residents need to start, what we need to start talking about, and I wanted to ask you, we need to start talking about, okay, it's going to cost, let's say it's 770. Let's say they're right on the money. We have been saving money in our fund balance to cover it. We'll have this conversation again. We're going to have this like 3 or 4 times, but we had the money in the fund balance waiting for the bill to come through on the dam. We have the money to pay for it. We don't have to go into debt or pay any interest rate, any interest to anybody, or bond or anything. And then, but the question is, if we spent that money on the dam to maintain so that we could have a lake in a well-preserved, sturdy dam for 100 years, this is a question for residents like you, Elfrida. If we do that,
You never know.
you never know. If we do that, there will be an annual maintenance fee as well. And I think that the town could consider putting aside 10 grand a year. And that we might not spend that money, but it could be 10 grand to have an engineer come through every single year and check the outlet valves, which is one of the things that has to be reinforced and kind of redone. And also to check that grouting. So if the town were to spend that money and then not do the annual maintenance so that the little problems became big problems again, it would be a real terrible thing. And as a town board, I guess, you know, my view is the other choice was we could get rid of a dam. Costs about $500,000 to get rid of a dam. Then you have to plant and you have to do all this other stuff. You might be able to get grants for it. There's a lot of work that would have to be done without the dam. And then it becomes a natural tributary again. So question is, do we want to send out a survey? Do we want to, you know, when we have our engineering analysis back, which we'll have in less than 2 weeks, do you want to ask people in the form of a survey, in the form of even just Unionville mail, just say, write me and tell me what your thoughts are? Town board members, when you see people, I need to know. Unfortunately, we're not waiting for any referendum or anything. Or we don't have to have a referendum, but we don't have to wait for a question to be put on the back of a ballot. It's too far away and we need to get moving. So how do you think it would be the best way for us to, after reading the analysis, to determine the best path forward? To get feedback from the residents, because this is their pond.
Well, I think we have to respect the fact that all this property, the Commonwealth was a gift to us. We have to respect the fact that all this property was given to us, and we really have an obligation to the donors, Ralph Connor family, and the residents, that we're going to maintain it as the best we can do and keep it as functional as possible for long-term use of the residents. So I think on that basis, we really have an obligation to retain that pond unless it's just financially impossible or physically impossible to keep that dam in place.
Well, the 770,000 was actually a welcome number. I was worried it was going to be $1 million. So from that perspective, you know, we're going to check up on, you know, see how close they are typically to their estimates. And again, we haven't read the report yet, so they just were fielding calls. But what do you think, Councilman? Can you?
I tend to actually agree with what John is saying. I think that's part of the treasure of Time Park, right? But it wouldn't hurt to just see what everybody else is thinking. I'm wondering if we could put like a tab, like a comment tab on out with like Unionville mail or something like that.
Absolutely.
You could do something, just do something like that and just at least get some comments. But,
Get some feedback.
you know, personally, I think that we do have an obligation to, you know, like John said,
To maintain it.
Maintain property as it was donated to us.
Well, we do have I know I'm probably on mute. We do have a lot of people that like to fish there. People have asked when we're going to bring at least a couple of boats back, you know, so that they,
we have a boathouse.
so that they can, you know, and the boathouse doesn't need a lot of work, but it needs painting, and the kids damage it a lot, and it's an adorable place. So the guys in the parks, they can fix it easily. We were going to put the deck back next to it so people can sit there. Maybe we could put it on our facilities rentals. I could have a birthday party or something, but they were going to do that. That's all in-house stuff that they can handle for the 50th anniversary. So the boathouse can be utilized again. And a couple of people want, you know, they want boats to go around in and enjoy and fish. Yeah. On the other hand, there's that camp that says, you know, is the town board, when we're all gone, is the town board 5 years from now or 10 years from now, are they going to continue to maintain it so that the town takes care of something that we assume that people cherish? And to that end, we're going to talk about capital reserve funds, and maybe that's something that we put into place that, and, you know, with a resolution strongly suggesting that this be completed after all of us are gone. But I think that, yeah, I think we need to hear from people, don't you? Steve, Councilman Frazier, what do you think?
I share the same sentiments that have already been mentioned here. And I do know a number of residents use the pond on a regular basis for recreation. That being said, it's probably not a bad idea to get the opinion from the people who are going to end up paying to keep it in place. We did something similar a while back where we used a company to do a survey. I don't remember what that cost us. Was that for the library?
Yeah, I think it was $1,500.
Yeah.
But I think
mean,
there's
that
free
could
ones
be
now.
something.
You can use Google and there's a couple of new things that you can use where you don't have to pay.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we could consider doing, and again, I don't think it's a bad idea to hear from the residents.
Yeah,
But I also support maintaining the park in the condition that it was donated to us.
yeah. Hold your bar down.
Especially given that it costs so much to take it down.
Yeah, we don't even know all of it. We could have it with a lot of hidden costs once it's gone, dealing with the remains of the pond.
Right.
So if we can keep the boathouse.
Yeah, well, and also I think one of the things we could do to help the residents, I've got those photos in my office from, oh, am I on mute? I've got photos in my office from 1999 when the water was gone. And I guess there was a terrible drought, and you can see the boathouse and a little boat kind of dangling there, and there was nothing but dirt, like solid hard rock mud. And it was very unattractive, and it would be very expensive to plant. And again, though, I think Riverkeeper helps because they planted trees over in McKinney Pond, formerly known as across the street. There are grants that can be had. We could ask the CAC to do some research for us and get something there.
But just look how awful that looks the last year and a half.
I know.
It's gonna be a long time before it looks nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, good night. I think that if the residents respond the way we all think they might, then it'll be something they embrace because it'll be a treasure. I mean, they'll kind of put some focus on a treasure. And we have been saving money for 3 years to pay for this.
I think just once you realize you do the math, and you take that cost versus the fixed cost, you know, the number starts getting like this, and you're not talking about $770,000.
Yeah. No, I hope you can hear them.
Oh, yeah.
Say that one more time if you don't mind.
Sorry. So what I'm saying is that, you know, the investment is already given that we have to spend at least what it costs to take it down. And, you know, that the difference between the two numbers could even be less than what we're proposing now, considering we went with the highest.
Yeah.
True.
Proposal. So, you know, the investment is not as large as it looks because we're guaranteed to have to make an investment already of at least $500,000.
Right. Now, I will say that they said the first thing they have to do, which will be in this report, they have to, first thing is a boring test to put a steel rod down the middle of the spillway because there's limestone under there. So he thinks, George Kolb said that the dam that he was really familiar with, he said, you know, they had to go 20 feet down because it was marble rock, I think he said. Ours is limestone on the base. So the engineer said, well, yeah, but we'll probably have to go down 40 feet as a result. And they bore it, and then they get a feel for the stability of the dam. They can really measure it. There's a water monitor and all this stuff. Now, interestingly enough, we didn't know when we were doing the budget and started the process, we didn't know what this dam was going to cost. And I was worried that it was $1 million, because remember, you always hear, oh, everything's $1 million when it comes to dams. But we did put $30,000 in the budget for engineering on the dam for 2021. So we asked him the other day, well, how much does that test cost that we have to do? And he said, well, it's step one, you got to do it so we can do the rest of the analysis. It's 20 to 30,000. So we actually have that money in the budget. The difference would come out of fund balance, you know, for any other, you know, beyond that, once we get the results of that boring test and they say, okay, it's very stable. We can, grout it and do this construction wise, or it needs to be buttressed. And that sounds like not as attractive in a pot. So we'll see what they say in their report. Okay. So it sounds like we'll have to talk further. Pardon? Yeah. No, Kevin, Councilman, can you hear us? And can you,
Yeah, I agree with the other councilman said. I think it's a focal point of Time Warner Park. It's beautiful hiking back there, fishing. You know, it's a great asset to the town, but again, we have to we got to get a solid number, to see, which direction we're going to go. And I think until we get those numbers, that we'll have to make a decision at that point.
Yeah, well, we have we have their estimates that will be what they gave us on the phone the other day is what is going to be in the written piece. I think Kevin or Councilman, I think one of the things we should look at is the cost so that residents can hear both sides, even though they're not going to be worried that we don't have to go in debt to do it. That takes that burden off, but how much it would cost to take it down and if there are any grants available so we could have a side-by-side comparison and then have people tell us what they think. So, and I think the CAC might be able to help us get some of that from the DEC. So, okay. Thank you for that, Councilman. We will work on communicating with the residents next. All right, at this point, new business, capital reserve funds, the discussion. I put in your packages, Councilman, we set up a capital reserve fund for the highway department so we could start putting a decent sum of money aside, and we had hoped to between 25 and 50 because we thought that there was, that was 2 years ago, we thought that we needed a new snowplow truck, but our new highway super doesn't think we need a new snowplow truck. And so the lower dollar amount of 15 a year going in, or 15, if it could get up to 25 when he does need one, would be great. But they've done a really good job of cleaning everything up and trying to maintain. He thinks he's going to be in good shape, and he hired this mechanic that would also help preserve some of the equipment that he's got over there. So I feel like the highway, putting money in every year at a higher level would be good. Councilman Frazier mentioned doing something similar for the park. And now we've got a little bit of information about the dam, even though the report's still forthcoming. And so I'm thinking that both of those areas might be ripe for a capital reserve fund so that we kind of know where we're going to spend some money. Now, as you remember from the highway reserve fund, it's a 2 or 3 month process to set it up. We could set it up at any time in 2021. I just wanted to remind everybody, and Councilman McGivney, you have this in front of you as well, I hope, from the email, but they're capital reserve funds. We have to read this. We have to just determine whether we're certainly as a town permitted, but how we're going to use the funds is the biggest thing, because you want to be able to get to the funds when you want to use them. So I would draw your attention to some of their ideas as far as how you use capital reserve funds. And how as far as accounting and how we treat the money and all that, we've got that down. That part's easy. But they have a repair reserve fund that they recommend. So that might actually be a good thing for the highway, or maybe even for the park. But if you could, and that for the dam. But if you could take a look at this, so we could be, and our attorney, I'll work with our attorney like we did last time, and just get your opinions kind of wrapped around which way you think we should go. One is more restrictive than the other. So we want to probably go with the less restrictive because we don't have a very specific target yet, other than we know we want to put money aside to take care of vehicles for the park, I believe. I think vehicles is a good thing. They're going to need a truck.
Yeah, like the big mower.
Yeah, because, okay, and that's great. It's a good example because we put a highway capital reserve fund, at least we got 15,000 this year in the budget. We had no revenue, so there wasn't enough money aside left to put into the roof fund for the park. And that we'll have to discuss and take out a fund balance if we go that route. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it shows you when you have good years or bad years with the capital reserve fund, you've got that rainy day fund should you have an emergency. So it just makes complete sense. So anyway, if you could read this, we're not taking any action tonight. We're going to go through it. We'll have Jeff Battistoni help us draw up the paperwork, and we'll be in good shape. It's a 3-month process, as you may recall. Okay. At that, we are, I would say we'll move to public comments after we vote on the budget. Since I blew right past it earlier, I apologize. But at this point, we're under motions and resolutions. You have the paid time off policy. We talked
Yes.
about that at
The work session.
our work
Yeah.
session. Councilman Frazier raised an important issue about whether or not you're allowed to. We got from the we had checked before, but I couldn't remember exactly who we spoke to. But we did get again from the Department of Labor. I sent you all in an email that as long as it's in our employee handbook and people are notified and and remember, everybody signs off when they get those copies as the new employees, that we're permitted to do what we want. And what we wanted to do was, if people don't give a 2-week notice, that they can forfeit, they could possibly forfeit the accrued vacation time. And that really, in certain departments, it's kind of tough if somebody just walks out without a 2-week notice.
It's happened here.
Yeah, it has happened here. So anyway, so I think since we answered all the questions in the last 2 months, I think we should, I'll make a motion that we approve the paid time off policy for inclusion in the employee handbook. And we can start that on January 1, 2021.
Very good.
Well, just see, I'm not sure.
I have, the accrued vacation is something that the person has earned. And if an employee has an opportunity to better themselves, I don't feel that they should be giving up what they have already earned in order to make themselves better if they find themselves in a position where they need to leave sooner than 2 weeks. I will agree that if an employee is terminated for reasons of theft from the town, that should apply. But
Cause, yeah.
for just a general, having to leave for one reason or another, I'm not on board with that.
Okay, so as far as discussion goes, I would say, I hear what Councilman Frazier's saying, and I'll play devil's advocate on the other side, because the examples that were shared with me were just simply leaving for either no job or a very similar job, or never in any of the cases that we discussed had anybody, which is, I think, a noble thing. But I think what's important is that the department head often knows if somebody's just walking out and leaving them in a lurch on purpose, which I've heard lots of examples from down in parks. And in the highway department, it happens as well, where people leave the management in a lurch without having, and I think the manager typically knows, and typically that, they write a 2-week notice. They typically give you a resignation letter that's 2 weeks.
That's standard procedure for almost every business area, is at least 2 weeks.
Yeah,
If not longer, but at least 2 weeks.
yeah. Yeah,
What if you say, if you don't get the 2 weeks that you got more than 2 weeks accrued. Sorry. If you have more than 2 weeks accrued, you could only lose 2 weeks. You know what I mean?
well, okay, with that,
So-
what
so
do
if you
we,
had more
tell
than-
us what
I'm
we're
just- I'm
accomplishing.
not- So there's still a penalty, you're not, you can say if you accrued 6 weeks vacation. You're not gonna-
we can, it doesn't matter to me.
I'm just saying, if you're gonna try to.
I don't know that,
Split the difference and say, well.
but what do you get from that? What do you accomplish from a managerial standpoint? How does that help?
There's still a penalty, but you're not overreaching. You know what I mean?
How would you respond to that, Councilman?
I understand, and that would, it's a possible compromise. I feel much better though. Like I said, this is time that the employee has earned. And again, if an employee finds himself in a position where he can get a better job and needs to leave before 2 weeks, then I don't feel that they should be penalized for, by having time taken away from him that he's already earned, because he can't give that notice. I think it's bad for morale, but again, there is, in my opinion, there is cause for that if the employee has been terminated because he's caused theft from the town. That seems like a fair exchange. But to make it outright for any reason, which is what this says,
Mm-hmm.
for any reason, a 2-week notice is not given, then I can't agree to that.
So I'm going to promote the other side only because I'm representing management here, and the things that have been shared with me. And I think that typically, I mean, my belief is you leave it in the hands of the manager because the manager knows the employee and knows whether the employee has put the organization first or not. And I think they can be the judge. In my view, I think it should be a manager's decision. And if, I think most of the instances, I have not ever heard of an instance since I've been here, and this is a group discussion with some of the managers and some of their difficulties. I have never heard of an example where somebody couldn't have given a 2-week notice. They've never shared one example, nor did they ever come up with one.
Mhm.
So I think that while it sounds good, I think that if you're the manager being left in a lurch unnecessarily, their point typically is that it just doesn't come up. Now, I think also as a manager can come to a board and say, I'd like to get you to override this for so-and-so for these reasons. And why wouldn't we override it?
Because then you're showing favoritism to one employee over another, and that's something you can't do.
It's not showing favoritism if there's a good reason. I mean, I think again, and
We're writing a rule that's going to be in the handbook. and
right.
It does not have any provision in the rule for us to make a judgment on it. The rule is the rule, and I don't agree with it.
Okay. Well, I think that given most of them, I think most of them feel that they don't have examples where people couldn't give a 2-week notice. And I think it's a nice thing for them to have because it's a little bit of a carrot to say, stick with me 2 more weeks and, give me 2 weeks notice and you're fine. So it certainly is a professional thing to do.
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't we just,
Professional thing to do for the person that's hiring is probably wait 2 weeks. Who wants to hire an employee that is gonna leave their previous employer stranded?
yeah, I agree. Okay. So let's,
I don't know if it was 5 weeks of vacation, but.
can I have a motion to approve the update to the paid time off policy for inclusion in the employee handbook?
I'll make a motion to approve the paid time off policy as written on this handout tonight.
Okay, can I have a second? I'll second it. I'm going to unmute Councilman McGivney because we want to be able to hear you, Councilman McGivney. Okay, there's a motion and a second on the table to approve this policy as written. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
I call for a roll call vote, please.
Andrea, you want to make a roll call vote?
Okay. Excuse me, Councilman Frazier,
Nay.
Councilman Durland,
Aye.
Councilman Welsh, Councilman McGivney,
Councilman McGivney, can you unmute yourself? Hey, Councilman McGivney?
what? No, oh, I didn't, is it? Oh, you went the wrong. Councilman McGivney, are you there?
Want to call him on his cell? Do you want to finish the roll call?
Supervisor Moss?
Aye.
Okay, that's everybody with the exception of Councilman McGivney.
Well, what we, I think the ayes have it. The motion carries. And it will be as written. And that will be that. The second motion, I'd like Councilman McGivney to unmute. So do you think you can contact him? Just to see, maybe he's had a little trouble with his computer, so he might not be able to hear us. Just give us a second if you don't mind, because the next vote is the budget, the 2021 budget.
Yeah, that's a critical vote.
Well, it's really reason for our meeting tonight. So I think he'd want to be involved in that.
Especially if there's any further comment.
But he, you know, his computers, he's always had trouble with this Zoom. Are you able to, any contact there? Mrs. Casey? Okay. It's not working, right? Ask him if he'd like to vote on the,
Councilman McGivney, do you want to vote? I don't know if you heard it because I'm not sure if you were still connected on the PTO policy.
I'm gonna abstain because I didn't catch half the conversation. My connection was really bad.
Okay, thank you.
okay. All right, may I have a motion to adopt the 2021 budget?
I will make that motion as it's outlined.
Is there a second? Second. Okay, all in favor of adopting the 2021 budget as outlined in tonight's version, final version? Please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Can you hear Councilman McGivney? Approve the 2021 budget?
Aye.
Great, okay. The 2021 budget's been adopted as approved. At this point, we have to, there aren't any transfers to make, and all we need is a motion to pay the bills.
I'll make that motion to pay the bills.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Let's pay those bills. Public comment on town issues. You need to get to a microphone. We'll repeat your question. Go ahead.
You want to sit here? I can vacate, we can talk.
We can, John, why don't you repeat your question?
I just want to talk about the library briefly. The millionth time. I can yell loud.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. What did I say after that? All right. Getting a library card when I was a little kid in Queens was a rite of passage. You got your card with your name and your own number. That's not happening here. I did request a special number for me and a separate one for my son, but when they came, the same number was on both cards. I don't want to know what he's taking out of the library, and he sure as heck doesn't want to know what I'm taking out. I want separate numbers. So there. Wait a minute, I had something else. I lost my notes. Oh, and what happens to us who don't use computers?
What do you want from the library? What do you want?
Call us, Joanne.
Thank you.
Remember, you're restricted on very specific things by law. You can go into the library, you can get books that are over 12 months old, you can walk around and do things, but you cannot get e-readers and that sort of thing. So if you want, which you don't want, but you want a hardbound book, do you want to read it? Okay, well, just let us know what you want. Well, we can, what we're doing is if you want a bound book, do you want to order a book? Okay. I don't know. I wasn't involved in that transaction, so I don't know, but I don't know. But we can find out for you, but that might have been when Kathy was on leave or, you know, yeah. So we can chase that down for you tomorrow. But basically you can let us know what you want. We can show you what's available. Let us know what you want. It'll be ordered and then it'll be brought to you. You have to actually look at a computer. But we'll help you. And our
It's a new book, it's less than a year old. Doesn't have to come to us. You can still get everything.
oh yeah, you can get the older book. That's Yes. So remember when I mentioned this concierge library services, our library services coordinator will help you. Yes, we'll walk you through it and then she will get you what you want. And if that's the new stuff, this is all brand new stuff. If you want the older stuff, you can get that from any library. But we will work with you individually, okay?
We're updating computer here, correct?
Yes.
Perhaps we can take the best of the old computers, or maybe one or two of them, set it up in the lobby for residents to come in and use to access the internet, similar to what the library does. I mean, it wouldn't cost us anything. All we have to do is put a desk out there for them to sit at.
Yeah. They don't want the old computer.
They can be set up to have restrictions through that
Yeah,
by the
yeah.
the IT company.
Yeah, we'll talk to them about that. It's a great idea. And there are a couple of our residents that don't even have computers or access to them and well, you don't want to use them. You don't want to use them. There's a difference. Yeah. But we understand and we will work with you individually. You're not on the mic, don't worry. We will work with you and get what you want. It's a really neat opportunity. You'll like it when you see it. You kind of will, yeah. A nice volunteer. All right, thank you. Not you, her. Would can you come out here, please? No, come on out. You could use mine, but yeah, come on over and use mine. Yeah, I think this is where it makes. Go ahead, Glenn.
Yeah, so I had a couple questions, and it's something Betsy, you and I exchanged email on earlier this week. Sure. So first is kind of library part A, part B. One, what I was hoping to hear was a little more strategic, long-term library plan, and it sounds like maybe we missed each other in the email. So sometime in the future, you just talked about kind of, I'll call it stopgap, short-term plans of what's happening. Is there a longer strategic plan? You might not be able to answer now.
Oh, we know the answer.
What?
We have a group of people that are raising money that want to renovate a building for the library.
So there is a longer strategic plan that.
I think we're gonna, I think we'll wait.
Can everybody
and see how
hear?
we're doing.
Everybody hear you now?
Why don't you finish? You're the one who's making comments. You go ahead. Make your comments.
So that's number one. And number two was also, you mentioned a group. You mentioned a group, an early adopters group, and you also mentioned seeking input from residents. Is that the same thing, or is that a different thing, or did I just get confused? I don't know what that is.
What
So-
topic was that in reference to?
When Betsy was talking, she talked about an earlier adopters group for the library. And then prior to that, you talked about getting residents' input. You know, what do residents want and need from the library? I'm not
That was
sure.
about the dam. We're getting residents' input on the dam, about our dam dilemma.
Okay, no,
We were
but
also talking about the library, I think, too, when they were talking about the
Yeah.
early adapters with regards to
Yeah.
the library
Oh,
Right,
functioning,
you
how
were.
Yeah.
the
Well,
library's functioning
I think
early
it's-
on, and getting
Okay.
feedback from them.
Yeah. A
right,
focus-
so there.
What is your question? I'm sorry.
So my question is, are they the one and the same, or are they different, or I just didn't understand? So I'm gonna give you the seat back. I'm gonna give you
Maybe
the,
it's time for a questionnaire. Tonight, you just came up with two biggies, library stuff, and
We're not, it isn't, here,
end the meeting.
thank you.
I do have one more question, but
Yeah.
keep going.
Okay, no, go ahead, Glenn, because 10 after, go ahead. Ask a question.
So my second question is unrelated to library, and that is, what's the town's plan this year for that little light display that happens down the street from me and controlling that light display? So that's an open-ended question.
Okay. All right, so I'm laughing only because it's an early adapters group and there's a volunteer who's going to run it and she's going to get feedback about various things. I also think with regard to the library services that we're offering, which are replacement services for those which the libraries have cut us off from, those replacement services that look really, actually, it's a really cool new environment we're embarking on. We'll get feedback when Elfrida comes over here and starts being introduced and somebody helps her get what she wants. We'll get feedback every time a person who wants to use what we have, we share with them how it works, and we'll get feedback that way. It'll work just fine, Glenn. So you didn't understand. Okay, so the early adapters, the volunteer, who's a very nice lady who is going to help everybody, who wants to get a group of them in, and who has an IT background. She would like a kind of a cohesive group of people so that she can run them through the same thing that we are, we did today and we've done this week. And we put many hours into trying to get the website up and running. So today she got the tutorial and she's anxious to share it with other people and then work that way. Because we're going to be making a lot of outbound calls to people that were concerned at one point and make sure they know where they can get what they wanted. So that'll be happening in the next 2 weeks. So it's just natural, organic feedback. The light display, there's nothing that's changed this year. We've done a fabulous job, in my opinion, of making sure that that light display is run well as it can. We can only do so much as a town. Nothing's changing. The light display is happening, as you know. I'm sure you're reading the other emails that you've sent and your neighbors have sent. You know, the light display is, to some people, absolutely love it. Other people hate it. I understand that, but it is not illegal. It is a complete drive-through. Our constables will be on the job. They got lots of kudos last year for the job they did. We want them to do the same job again this year because they got such great kudos. I think, so nothing's really changing. I don't know when it's starting, but I think it's starting after Thanksgiving. So nothing has changed there because I don't think the family that runs it has changed anything to my knowledge.
So the plan this year is the same as the plan last year. I should expect the same. The constables to do the same thing this year.
You should expect the constable to do a very good job in keeping the traffic flowing and making sure it's.
And by the way, as I've commented before, I think George Trent does a great job. I do think there's nights when it's an unmanageable situation. It's very difficult for them. But please don't let anybody in the truth saying that George Trent don't do a good job. I think they do.
That's good to hear.
I've had debriefs with them. They don't feel like there are nights that aren't manageable. So I think if the residents that live there aren't talking to them or distracting them or whatever, I think that, and I don't think that happens very much, but if they're not distracted and they're allowed to just do their job and I don't think that they've never complained to me when I've debriefed them. They've never complained about it. Listen, they're not there because it's a town event. They're only there because we're worried about safety with the cars and everything. That's why we want the constables to be there. It's not our event, but it is, or our display. But since there's a lot of traffic going through there, we want the constables to help people, keep people safe. And I think from everybody that goes and things that people say and all reports, I've only been told, and the town board has only been told, that they do a good job. Things are safe. They're better than they were 5 years ago, or if you go back even further and further. And what is this, the 25th year? I think this is the 25th year.
Yeah.
So I understand it's extremely safe and we designed the big circle for them to drive around. I mean, I think they do well. I feel bad because some people don't like it. I think the majority of people really like it. So the family seems to feed off of that. And that's about all we can say about it, actually. So Glenn, I'm not going to discuss it any further. It's not a debate. I think we've talked through this light display as much as we can. So we're finished. I'm going to ask that we adjourn the meeting because we can't keep going over and over the light display. It's not our project. I think our guys will do a good job. I want you to trust them. You thought they've done a good job. They'll continue to do a good job. Okay? All right. May I have a motion to adjourn? I think that's all we have to cover. Is there a second? Somebody, I'll second it. Kevin, Councilman, you want a second? All in favor of adjourning the meeting?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you all very much. Have a good night.
I'm glad we got the budget passed.
Yeah, it was a big thing. And the discussion about the dam was very good.